Now, there's no doubt about it that by far one of the most anticipated Star Wars projects of this year is indeed the Ahsoka Tano series for multiple reasons, because a lot of it has to do with the mythology and the live-action iteration of Rebels characters coming into play, and let's not forget that a lot of Legends characters are going to be making surprise cameos in the upcoming Ahsoka Tano series, led by, of course, Dave Filoni. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the kind and great support. Now that brings us to, of course, what's really been going on between John and Dave for a couple of upcoming projects that they've been having a lot of trouble with, and we're going to be diving into every single detail about what's been going on behind closed doors and what really has been brewing behind over at Lucasfilm. Now, we already know that Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, has been having a lot of trouble trying to really regulate the franchise, and that's exactly why he's just letting John and Dave do their work, doing whatever they want to do to regulate everything. You know, if it weren't for Bob Chapek giving them their privileges over at Lucasfilm, I don't think that Star Wars would stand where it is today, especially with Mando Season 3 looking fantastic so far, and Ahsoka being so highly anticipated. Those are the two shows that are really going to kickstart the momentum of John and Dave's upcoming slate of Star Wars TV shows. So anyways, moving past all of this, what's even all the more exciting has a lot to do with exactly what John and Dave have been actually up to for the past couple of months. Now, one thing that has been going on that isn't so positive, however, is going to actually enhance their own work, is that they will be leaving a couple of Star Wars TV shows. However, it's not what you think necessarily. So let's dive into this. Now, with Disney and Lucasfilm getting ready to develop new Star Wars TV shows for the fans, both John and Dave are currently doing big things for the canon and lore. However, it's noted that currently one of the big developments as of late is that Favreau and Filoni are getting ready to leave a Star Wars project, or projects, in this situation, from Lucasfilm to focus on other things properly. As of now, Favreau and Filoni are gearing up to leave both the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew by this March, and will no longer be looking over both shows to help fix the series that Kathleen Kennedy created so many problems for. Now, this recent development comes from, and briefly after, Kennedy has been causing more problems on the set for both the cast and the crew of both shows, and John and Dave have informed the Disney higher-ups that they want nothing to do with these two installments anymore. So let me just pause here. Now, in case you guys have been out of the loop, John and Dave, they've been really fixing a handful of scenes for the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew to kind of mend the canon material together and to prevent a lot of canon breaking scenarios, which apparently there was a lot of canon breaking situations in both Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte, which really isn't all that reassuring. You know, when you think about those two shows, one of which being the Acolyte is going to have a lot of retcons toward the prequels, and then Skeleton Crew, since that's a Mandoverse project, is going to have a lot of retcons toward the original trilogy. And I think that's one reason why a lot of fans remain skeptical about those two shows, is that not only are they fully run, for the most part, by Kathleen Kennedy, but they're also two projects that are going against 100% George Lucas's philosophy. Basically, those shows have nothing to do with George, nothing to do with his outlook on Star Wars, and just nothing to do with the overall magic of the franchise. So, they may sound great on paper and all, I understand that, but John and Dave have been trying to fix portions here and there. We already know that it was John and Dave that threw Ahsoka Tano into Skeleton Crew to kind of spice things up a bit and to add more fan interest, but I'm not quite sure if that's going to be enough to save the Skeleton series. Moving on. Now that brings us to the next big scenario. Now we already know that Bob Iger's kind of panicking right now over those two projects led by Kathleen Kennedy and how much of an impact they're going to have negatively on the fan base if they really can't fix things up properly for the time being. We already know that filming has been pretty much ongoing a lot longer than expected because of reshoots. However, moving past this, for, of course, the past couple of months, Jon and Dave have been helping out with fixing some of the scenes in those shows. Due to the heavy toxic environment, Jon and Dave are now quitting from both series, and to also have 100% focus and drive on their work and upcoming projects for the fandom. As of now, Kathleen Kennedy is said to be one of the leading reasons why Jon and Dave are leaving after she only made their job more difficult the past couple of weeks. Bob Iger is said to be very understanding of Jon and Dave's decision on leaving these shows to better their own goals and projects. Now, before I get to the next batch here, alright, one thing that Jon and Dave are truly going to benefit from this is that all of their thoughts and processes are going to be focused on the good, focused on the projects that they are passionate about. And you'll notice that if you dedicate, if a creator dedicates himself to something that he's passionate about, that's when it really kind of reflects on the fans, and that's what Jon and Dave want to make sure of. They can't be having a lot of toxic material entering into their lives, or very difficult scenarios and situations, both financially and creatively. They need to focus on their own work, and that's what they're doing. So they're going to be leaving both these shows by this March. They were supposed to stick around for both filming and post-production for a very long time, at least until the end of 2023, and basically now that's being all cut short drastically. They're going to be getting out by March, right around when Skeleton Crew wraps filming, and right around when Acolyte is getting closer to ending filming. That's supposed to end by, give or take, end of April into early May. So there's a lot of great things coming out of this, in my opinion. I think it's a blessing in disguise, right? I mean, sure, Jon and Dave, they want only the best for every Star Wars show, because it's Star Wars, let's face it. But at the end of the day, too, this is something that cannot be 100% fixed anyway, since they only have so much, control over those projects. They're only fixing a couple scenes here and there, adding in a couple cameos here and there, stuff like that. And I don't think it's going to be enough to really save those two. I really don't. Now, again, there's no footage, there's no trailers or teasers out there to judge these shows on. I get that. I 100% understand that. But based on everything that we have been talking about through the leaks, and how Kathleen Kennedy is in charge, and how both Leslie Headland and John Watts really aren't all that big of Star Wars fans, worries me, and I think it worries a lot of you out there too. But if you're looking forward to those shows, listen, that's perfectly fine. Everybody has their own outlook on everything, right? So overall, I'm really intrigued to hear what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.